as I grin at the simple pleasure of seeing Goldie, an old favourite Animal Crossing regular, pottering around her tiny one-room house in a wee Willy Winky style nightcap and pyjamas. It feels so good to be home. Not home in the sense of being curled up on the sofa in real life, but that sense of comfort that comes from immersing myself again so deeply in the Animalese jabbering world Animal Crossing. There's nothing that quite compares to the quiet peacefulness of existing within the bright simplistic world. And with Animal Crossing New Horizons, that sense of the series being the ultimate getaway from reality is amplified tenfold. That's not just because Animal Crossing New Horizons has possibly arrived at the most perfect time, a period where many of us find ourselves being trapped at home a little more than usual, and jetted us to an island paradise courtesy of Tom Nook. Yes, the money-focused Tanuki is back with a new investment scheme, and this time it's about setting up a new life on a deserted island. Nook's in charge now though, meaning you've been demoted to resident representative. And later, when she eventually arrives like a sunbeam of cuteness, you realise Isabelle reports to Tom Nook now too. But that doesn't mean your powers to shape the future of your new sandy home are lessened. There are actually a slew of new features to help you execute your own visions of paradise, from terraforming to new tools and fresh areas to explore. And the moment Tom Nook steps back, you're ready to create your ultimate desert getaway. But Animal Crossing New Horizons is more appealing for its familiarity and repeated themes than with a new mechanic dotted here and there. They're always appreciated, of course. This is the first Animal Crossing game for Switch after all, but there's an inherent need for the game to retain a lot of its existing charm and patterns for it to feel like an Animal Crossing title, and it's more about the game's pace than you'd expect. In a world where you can spend hours on end looping short, pacey in-game days in Stardew Valley's farming simulation, Animal Crossing is still tied to real-world passing of time, mirroring your physical time and date to the point that you become acutely aware of what's going on in the Animal Crossing world, depending on what time you dip into it. Initially, this means the pace of Animal Crossing New Horizons feels incredibly slow, but this game is designed to be played as much or as little as you'd like on any given day. Across the month I've had to exist in New Horizons world, I've fallen back into familiar Animal Crossing patterns, checking in some days for the daily rewards and to ask around town for the latest news, while on others something new will happen, encouraging me to spend hours upon hours focused on achieving something fresh. The longer you play, the easier it is to see the regular ebbs and flows of your island life. Initially, your island is nothing more than a few tents, the Nook family resident service tent, a new airport, and a handful of slightly nervous looking residents still questioning whether they made the right choice moving here. But you'll work to build relationships with your villagers, understanding that each one will have their own defined personality and quirks, and work to build a life on this sandy dune for you and for them. Being able to place objects outside is a godsend, allowing you to really tweak the look of your island, and Tom Nook will also start to offer you the option to reposition homes and buildings to really customise your layout. Eventually, your island becomes more than a tangle of tense and nervous energy and starts to look more like an actual settlement. It takes weeks, of course, as initially your goal is to improve the island, bulk out the population, and work to really put your island on the map, but it's one of the most rewarding grinds gaming has to offer. Your progress is as much linked to the game's systems as it is the goals you set yourself. Nook Miles, for example, are a new currency form that unlocks special rewards, including Nook Mile tickets that allow you to temporarily escape from your own island to somewhere new. These alternate desert islands offer a plethora of resources, including new foreign fruits to bring back to your home, or even a new villager to invite back with you. In a purely platonic sense, of course. New homes will literally be ready the next day, for example. Travelling salesfolk arrive a couple of times a week, and there's a grind and graft to earning bells, the game's main currency. Nook Mile rewards are quickly split into larger goals like spending 20 days on your island, and smaller quick hitters like popping balloons or catching 5 fish, meaning there's always something to aim for. Of course, for those familiar with the ways of Animal Crossing, the ultimate goal is to draw in the familiar faces of the series. Blathers in the museum, the Able sisters and their tailors, Kix and his shoe emporium, and more. And yet, even a month in, only a handful of these regulars have even set foot on my sandy shores. Animal Crossing still rewards the patient. That goes for access to the game's new features too. The headliners in terms of new additions are crafting and terraforming. Thankfully, access to crafting is such a huge part of the game, it's made accessible from your first full day on the island. To begin with, your focus will be on crafting the tools that let you fish, catch bugs, smack rocks, wobble trees, excavate fossils, plant trees and flowers, and the usual Animal Crossing busy work. But soon you'll be raking in crafting recipes, earning them from popping balloon presents that float across the sky, bottles that wash up on the beach, or from your merry band of island friends as gifts. Soon your home, and probably theirs too, as well as your island, will be adorned with your creations. And there's an ungodly pleasure in finally landing a recipe type you've been waiting for. Then there's the terraforming. New Horizons' brand new mechanic that lets you throw on a builder's hat and directly edit cliffs, add water features, and finally lets you place and edit paths. But that doesn't mean the latest system is perfect either. For those of you that have dreams of basically creating an island from scratch, that's not the case. The tools, at least those I've now got access to after 3 intense weeks of crafting, allow you to manipulate the terrain that already exists. You can add to or carve away existing cliffs, create or remove existing water, but forget about reshaping the island en masse. But those gripes do little to detract from the joy I've had spending every day with Animal Crossing New Horizon, and there's no denying that every day is a treat with this game. With new faces to meet, old friends to reunite with, fresh features, regular visitors, quirky characters, and no doubt a plethora of incoming events. And that's without even being able to take advantage of the game's increased multiplayer features yet either. This is an Animal Crossing game through and through, and although it comes with some time-based frustrations, that urge to just spend 5 more minutes on your island deepens with every passing day. As your island evolves and starts to drip feed fresh things to discover and see, you'll have the urge to check up on your toe bean boasting critters on a daily basis more than ever before. Animal Crossing New Horizons has perfected the gameplay loop the series is famed for, and somehow manages to keep its steady pace relevant in a world where there are plenty of genre rivals. Prepare yourself for spending many a year to come with Tom Nook and co. We give it 4.5 stars.